Are you ready? So welcome to our next panel. It's about the future of financial services is now. Because we said it's, you've just seen it. There's a whole day on Fintech at Code N. It's not just because there's an innovation stage that definitely it is a hot topic. There have been tremendous investments into these topics over the last years. And while it had started in an approach about disruption and David against Goliath and all of those topics pretty much pushed by the media, it is now very much about co-innovation and collaboration between fintechs and banks. So I'm very happy to have both of the sides with me on stage today. Please welcome together with me. We have Frank Boberach from Reisebank. Frank is head of product management there. He's a strategy professional with extensive experience. And we are very happy that you're joining us today because you've done something very special. You've had your first transactions with Ripple, and we're curious to just hear more about that and how you brought innovation to a bank and what it all changed from you. And to my other side, we have Philippe Gillis from Cantox. And first of all, congratulations on the newest award, which you could add to your collection last night. So Philippe is the co-founder and CEO of Cantox, and he was voted among the top 100 influencers in fintech for this year. So let's hear what you've influenced and how you're changing banking, especially in the financial services industry. So Philippe, maybe if you start away just sharing with the audience some details on what Cantox is doing, and just tell us, did you find the ultimate gap in banking business, or what are you just doing better or different?
So I would say we have an interesting story because we have evolved a lot as a company. We started in 2011 when fintech was, I would say, in general, not only Cantox, very focused on digital experience, transparency in pricing, and in the end, better prices. So we built the company based on that simple value proposition. We grew the company quite well. We had last year, we grew more than 200%, same thing in 2014, so very high growth for a fintech company. But then what we understood is, on the long run, the real value is on technology. So an ability to bring clients very advanced and sophisticated technology, not only a better price or more transparency on pricing. So we started evolving last year, and what we have built now is a solution for companies of any size to completely automate foreign exchange management. So we capture data from ERPs, we crunch data, we monitor the risk for clients, and then we execute the foreign exchange transactions. So as one of our clients said last week, now I can sleep much better because I know that my risk is completely managed by Cantox.
Okay, so great. So you said it's like price and technology were two of the major drivers for innovation on your side. And Frank, you started your cooperation with Ripple. Was price and technology, were those the main drivers for you to act?
Yeah, price is important for a bank. Risk is important for a bank. And I think those guys just sitting on the on the panel here just some minutes ago. They said innovation is important now also for banks, and this is one of the reasons that we engaged together with Ripple in a new technology, in the distributed ledger technology, blockchain technology, to do international payments, and we did it successfully.
Okay, what was your main driver for success?
Yeah, the main.
Why was it successful?
The main driver for success is we have to do it. If we do not do it ourselves, if we do not do it by banks, other will do that for us. We are not asked for that. No one asks for, is it good to have this one or that one? We have a world outside, and we can be part of this world. And when we go ahead, we have to do innovative things. And the Ripple blockchain technology, the distributed ledger blockchain technology is such an innovative thing to banks, shorten times for international payments. Normally they take 2 to 4 days, and we can do that with Ripple within 8 seconds. So there's a tremendous uplift in time, which is good for customers, which is good for business, and which is also good for banks if they do it in the right way.
And how did you decide on, how did you choose your collaboration? Did you ever think about, I'll just do it by myself? Or I'll look for a partner, I'll be much quicker with a partner? How did you do that?
Yeah, as Reisebank is a small niche bank in Germany. We are not a big player in the market. We're just a niche bank. We are a subsidiary of DZ Bank, which is the central bank of the cooperative banks here in Germany. We have to focus on what we can do. And our aim is normally not to invent new things. Like the both guests just said, banks are not known for being innovative in the last 20 years or so. So we have to have help or helping hands from the outside, and we found them really in Accenture in this case.
Yeah. Okay, so Philip, when you now hear that all of the banks are cooperating with fintechs, do you think they will catch up with the innovative spirit at fintechs and the things you do differently?
We have experienced very different behaviors in the last years. I would say that until 2013, banks were not really interested in what was happening in fintech. Then in some countries, not in any country, but in some countries in Europe, they started experiencing the impact, I'm speaking about money and P&L, of successful fintech company on their own business. So that's when they started considering that they had to innovate really to keep the pace. I will say that now banks are let's say if we measure innovation from 0 to 100, I see that banks are at level 1. So there is a huge gap. What many banks are doing now is they speak a lot about fintech. They create some kind of incubator. They all have a super mega staff for innovation in the bank. But to date, the outputs are 0, nothing. So there is a lot of buzz, a lot of excitement, but really nothing is happening already. They are testing things, they are doing things, they are speaking a lot, but nothing is really happening. Meaning, the Ripple thing is interesting, but okay, fine, it's.
Yeah, I think what's different is that very many cases are still at the surface of digitization. So it's very much about customer experience, etc. But the true, the whole backend to it, the end-to-end digitization still has to take part. But you know, if we talk to banks, very often they say, well, we can't act as quickly as fintechs because we have a whole legacy behind us. We have built up our systems, they're here, and whereas fintechs can go for a greenfield approach. So how do you prevent your technology from getting old and becoming a legacy that will slow you down in 2 to 3 years?
I think that to become a legacy, there's a different reason why you get legacies. The first one, you usually have legacies when you have some kind of oligopolistic market. In a market which is very competitive, people with legacies, they die and they disappear. In oligopolies, legacies can last for decades. If nowadays, as we spoke before, you cannot make a payment from Karlsruhe to Sydney in 2 seconds for 1 cent, it's because for 50 years, they had no interest in investing in new generation of global payment networks. It's not that blockchain is the only thing allowing you to pay fast globally. It's that we have not invested for 50 years in networks. So they're completely outdated and completely legacies. I would say that in a really competitive industry, you have no legacies because people with legacy disappear. So in our case, I would say that if we're able to stay ahead, by default, we'll have no legacies because we are competing and innovating permanently. Mm-hmm. Legacies only appear, in my view, in oligopolistic markets and industries.
Okay. But it's also about continued innovation, probably, right? And always reinventing yourself and questioning if you're doing the right thing.
I think what's important and what we have learned to date is you need to be able to innovate, rethink your product and rethink your positioning even when you are successful. If you are growing fast, this doesn't mean that you don't have to reinvent things and to change your positioning. Mm-hmm. This is what we started doing last year. If because you are successful, you consider that's fine, that's done, you're probably dead 2 or 3 years after. So it's a state of mind, meaning it's really behavior and a culture.
Yeah. Okay. We come back to behavior and culture later, but so Frank, now you've achieved the first use case. The first thing has happened. How did you keep up the spirit? What's next? How do you keep changing your legacy and your business model?
That's quite a hard job to do, basically, because Philip is right. Yeah, legacy is always a danger for business. Yeah, feeling comfortable in your niche or in your business model is always dangerous. Let me say it like that. And we try to do what Philip complains about, that we have been innovative in a field where we feel comfortable, where Reisebank is known for international payments, basically, and now we try to do it in a digital world. Mm-hmm. And this is the spirit we try to keep high now within our company. We are an expert on international payments. We are one of the biggest agents of Western Union, for example, in Germany. So we are common, we know how to deal with cash. Yeah? Customers are coming to our branches, putting the money on the desk and say, please transfer that to, I don't know, Philippines, Africa, somewhere else in the world. And we do it with Western Union. And this is why we say such a technology like Ripple is providing it, for example, via the blockchain technology, is exactly our business model copied into the digital world. So this is Reisebank 4.0, so to say, yeah, if you would express it like that. So it's quite easy to keep the spirit high within the company because everyone knows times are changing. And we have to change, otherwise we are gone. Mm-hmm. And if you're gone, all the work is gone and no one will be employed in 5 years or so. So it's the basic interest of our company to keep this high. We are aware of this challenge, of digitization, and we are trying, on the one hand, to transfer our business from the analog to the digital, and as well, we are trying to identify new business opportunities. Why does bank always have to work like we are used to during the last 50, 40 years? Maybe banks have to change itself. Maybe. We will see. I have no idea how that will be, but something will happen.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll continue to talk about change. What did you learn from the guys from Ripple regarding culture? You're not wearing a hoodie yet, I can see that.
Yes, first thing is rip your tie off. As you see, I'm a banker and wearing no tie at the moment. I think that's the first step you have to do. Philip's just well dressed with a t-shirt and he's feeling comfortable with that. Maybe change is starting with a small step, just ripping off the tie. Next thing is try to get an innovative idea up and running. And those guys from Ripple, they had a good idea. They know how to present the idea to their audience. I think this is one we just talked about upfront before we came to the panel. If you are fintech, you have to be a showman. It's a show. You have to present yourself. You have to convince your partners or your possible partners that it's worth investing in your business. And the Ripple guys are good in that. But they are not only good in making a show. They are good in presenting valuable technology. And this is what we think is good. They have a good story they are talking about, and they have a valid business model behind, and they have a valid technology which banks enables, or where, with what? No, the other way around. The technology of Ripple enables banks to do the next step and be ready for the next digitization or for the banks 4.0, something like that.
Yeah. Are you happy being called a showman?
I think the technology industry, you're always selling to investors, selling to clients. So that's true that in the end, even more in the beginning, you are in some way representing your company. So that's true that if we compare to banks, we are probably much more showmen than bankers. So that's fine, yeah. I'm okay.
Okay, so looking at the talent and all of the guys who will follow up in the jobs in the near future, I think you're kind of stealing the cool guys from the work market and attracting all of them towards fintechs and pulling them away from banks. So do banks even have a chance to get those guys and with the guys the spirit?
That's a good question. That's sure that for now 2 years, let's say, we see many what we will name top guns that would have gone to Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, or they are more and more trained to go to fintech. And not only because the space is really growing and exciting and very hot, simply because they want a different kind of working life and experience and excitement. So that's true that it's one of the drivers of the change in industry, definitely. And I also always think or say when I pitch when I do presentation in universities or business schools, if you're interested in the financial industry nowadays and you are just a graduate and you go to a bank, you are probably missing a life opportunity, you know.
You don't need to wear a tie any longer, though.
Yeah, but this is just a question of look, you know. This is not the more important.
Okay. And do you think it's also a matter of age? Because you're the co-founders, so the senior management are born digitals. They've lived the idea, they don't know the other word.
That's true that there is probably a generation impact, definitely. People born digital are by default more comfortable with fintech and more keen to go and work in fintech. I'm always a bit worried when I, for example, see banks and top management in banks speaking about innovation, fintech, and they are all almost retired already. Mm-hmm. Meaning there is something that doesn't work, you know. You cannot rebuild a bank from inside, build something digital innovative if the average age of the board are 60 years old. You need young guys, you need young people, you need digitally born people.
Yeah, okay. So what's the average age of the senior management at Reisebank?
Oh, that's a secret I cannot talk about.
So then let's ask me, how did you get their sponsorship? How did you convince them?
Yeah, I think
our
board of directors, which is 50 plus, just to be honest, far away from the average age at the normal fintech, but they really understood what's the future. They understood that banks are changing, the times are changing, and they try to preserve our business. They try to preserve the jobs at our bank. That's their first goal because they are the head of the company. The second thing is that they think that what we did with Ripple, for example, is highly innovative, has a potential to be a next step within the banking business. So we think that there will be more opportunities to transfer money from A to B via the ocean or from which point of the earth to another elsewhere. And Reisebank will be part of that. We understand ourselves as a converter between the analog world and the digital world. This is our understanding of how Reisebank will act in the future. And this world-first transfer we did with ATB in June on the payments panorama, we really made a proof of we can make a payment within 8 seconds over the big lake between Canada and Europe. This is interesting, and this is a proof, and Philip just said it before. He says the others are just talking while Reisebank did it. Yeah, we did it, and we are ready for doing the next step. We are observing the opportunities now together with Ripple and other partners, and we want to step in as soon as possible if enough banks join the network and other things are up and running, and then we will go the next step, as Philip just said. Yeah, and I'm quite proud to act a little bit like a fintech. That's quite interesting for us and also for Reisebank. Thank you.
Okay. So my last question: do you now have a separate unit, or how do you keep the innovation spirit going? Has Reisebank a separate unit? Do you have an innovation space? You just kind of criticize that everyone has founded one, but they're not living it.
Yeah, Reisebank is just too small to have such an internal innovation hub or innovation center. We just do that in the normal product management. But the BOD is aware of that, so we have enough people now in our group so that we can care about this digitization. So, for example, we engaged a new colleague, especially for digitization. He's responsible for those projects and those digitized products. So, in that sense, we have a kind of an innovative hub, but it's just represented in an old school department called product management.
Okay. So probably your product management is core of the company, right?
I would say that when you build a fintech, in the end, you always build something which is a solution for clients. So by default, product is the core thing and the single most important thing in the company. So it's a very different culture and behavior and way of doing business. And so that's why I always think that the only way, in my view, for banks to completely change is to build a new bank for each of them from scratch, build it, design it, grow it, start migrating customers across 1 or 2 decades. No banks will be able to become digital from inside. It's impossible. It will not work. The only way is to build new banks from scratch, because it's not only a matter of design and internal organization. It's a matter of people and culture. You will not change tens of thousands of people and their culture. You can do anything you want. You will not be able to do it. It's impossible. So I think the only thing is you build something new. It's not very expensive for banks. It's something they can afford. You build it, you grow it, you migrate customers, and in 20 years you will close the old bank and you will have the new one. You cannot rebuild from inside. Maybe one bank will be able to do it. But what companies like Nokia, even if now it's a bit of a failure, but has been able to do to reinvent the company in the last century, it's very unique. And I don't think at all that many banks will be able to do it. Maybe 5% of them will be able to do it. So the good way is really to rebuild.
Okay. So maybe with this idea of rebuilding, we close it, because it means there's a lot of innovation to come. It needs to continue, be it collaboration or co-innovation, or each one for itself. Thank you to both of you for sharing it. I don't know whether we get a question or not.
I don't think so. I'm afraid we have to stop it here, just to be fair to our other panelists. Thank you so much, Reisebank, Kantox, Accenture, for sharing your ideas and for getting this conversation started. A big round of applause for all of our panelists.